Hi, it's Val from Poland. Val is short from Valdemar, and I'm speaking with Igor. Igor was born in the United States. He came to Poland. We are friends from a couple of.
Since a couple of months, yes. The entire situation with the pandemic, the entire shit show that's going on, because of this, we came across each other, and now we are trying to be active in terms of fighting the propaganda, in terms of fighting the system here in the north of Poland. So,
Yes, did I say it's 5th of February?
it is the 5th of February.
That's good, man.
Okay.
So at least you know where we are. What we're gonna do now is start from uh, present time. We will tell you what's happening now in Poland, and then we're gonna come back to the beginning of Plandemic.
Yes. We're going to go through it step by step, but first let's talk about the present situation in Poland. What's going on in terms of the restrictions. And I would say that Poland is pretty light when it comes to restrictions. Wouldn't you, Walden?
Yes, at the moment, compared to places like Germany.
Yeah, Germany is a hellhole right now. I would hate to be in Germany.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's going on is that whereas in Germany they have to wear masks, I believe, everywhere, inside and outside, and they have implemented the vaccine passports. The vaccine, and this is the most important part, that the vaccine passports haven't been implemented in Poland yet. It's still illegal under the constitution and under lots of legislation to implement vaccine passports in companies and restaurants. Nonetheless, some restaurants do it in the main cities. In Old Town, for instance, in Gdańsk, they do tend to check the vaccine passports.
But there is a resistance.
Yeah, there is a resistance, and we have recourse, and we can notify the police because it's still illegal, and we can file a complaint to the court. So, and
Yes, because of around 50% of people in Poland are against forced vaccination. We are in a kind of safe position. We are not that brainwashed as quite a lot of Europe is at the moment. I suppose it's because we have a experience of being under occupation for the last couple of 100 years, really. But we came out of communism, just maybe 20 years ago. So people have a fresh memory of what was happening in 1981.
yeah, people have a fresh memory of being oppressed here. Yeah, and it's in our genes to be rebellious. You know, it's in a Polish genes to be rebellious, and you can see that. You know, like 45, like Waldek said, around half of the population is against the vaccine mandates, and 45% of the Poles have not even been vaccinated once. So this is a really good sign, and it's a sign of hope here in Poland that we can turn this around. And as opposed to vaccination rates in Germany, which I hear are about 75, 80%, I'm not sure if that's the case, but yeah.
So if you want to run away from your country, and you're welcome in Poland.
Welcome to Poland, yeah.
So far so good. Although inflation is going up,
Yeah.
and if you want to be in a safe position, I think it's good to be a little bit of a prepper, to have a little bit of food stored up front. But that's kind of my cup of tea. And what I'm doing in Poland is I'm a prepper in Poland, so I do know quite a lot of preppers, and we just don't want to be in a situation when government suddenly turned off the light.
Yeah.
Anything might happen, especially with the Russia, which is close
Yeah, with the entire Russia situation, with the entire pseudo conflict with Ukraine, it's pseudo conflict. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You know, like it's the propaganda behind that is paper thin, and we can see that. But like, you could also see that the military-industrial complex from the Western military-industrial complex is desperate for war, and they just want to provoke Russia. And I think that's the same way the other way around because like I think me and Valdik kind of agree that it's two sides of the same coin. That both Russia and the United States are basically controlled by globalists. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, by the agenda.
by the agenda, yeah. And furthermore, if I could just say for one thing, that I talked with a colleague from Russia recently, and he said that the situation in Russia is even worse than, for instance, in the United States, or just as bad as in Germany. That the vaccine passport has been fully implemented. That they need to use the vaccine passport to go to the metro, to the subway. So it's kind of shocking as to what's going on in Russia. You know, you didn't expect that from the Eastern Bloc, from
Yes,
right,
that's right. I'm really shocked. I didn't heard about that before. Someone told me, but I wasn't really sure about that. So it's a war. It's a war at the moment. In Canada, some people are doing really well,
yeah,
only because 50% of Polish people are not vaccinated. Doesn't mean the war is over.
yeah,
It's still, it might anything might happen. But as far as people are not complying, I think there is a chance to overcome what they want to do that to, what they want to do to
yes,
us.
exactly, yeah,
And every month, every half a year, people are more aware of what's happening.
yeah.
More and more people are kind of waking up, even the vaccinated, right?
Yes, even the vaccinated. Yes, they're starting to ask questions. People are genuinely starting to ask questions. I think it's a global phenomenon right now because of what's been going on lately in terms of the mass protests around the world, and in terms of what's going on in Canada, right, with the convoy. And I think that the Canadian convoy it made a huge impression around the world. I think even the mainstream media, for the most part, reported on it, and they did report on it in a negative light. But but hey, at least people hear that there is opposition to this tyranny, that people are fighting back. And
Yes, and people in Poland can read between the lines. I'm not saying everybody, but there are a lot of understanding. So the reason of making this video is getting in touch with Sweden, Denmark, people, I mean, the countries that are um, neighbors to Poland. And we want to start some kind of connection with our neighbors in case Russia will come to Poland or some stupid decisions will happen in your country, so you can come to Poland. We are in Gdynia at the moment, just 100 meters from Baltic Sea. It's a really nice place.
yeah.
People are walking without face masks. It's not that bad, although it was much worse last year.
Yeah, I believe that we had a 6 month long lockdown at the beginning, right? And it was the situation was the worst then, And yeah, maybe we could start from the beginning, like talk about that.
Yes, that's right. So
Yeah,
we just made the. Um, we just wanted to say what's happening now, just not to drag too much of what's happening from the beginning.
yeah,
And so you know where we are. Uh, you know what time is it now? I mean, what date is it now?
yes,
And we want to do, as you said before, just track everything shortly what was happening from the beginning of Plandemic.
yeah. Just briefly go through it, step by step, because it was a fascinating process to witness, to observe.
I actually wasn't here. I was in Britain at that time.
Yeah, you were?
Yeah, Britain and Denmark.
Okay. How long were you there?
I was there. All started 2020, right?
It started in March 2020, and you were there.
I was in Ireland at the moment at that time.
Okay, yeah.
So someone rang me on those Dublin airport, and some friend, I think he was sending me some message.
Yeah.
Or like, are you not afraid? Something's happening now. I said, well, we'll see what happens. I will take my chance, right? After the spring 2020, I came to Southampton, and that's what. And then it all started. The police was chasing people in the parks. Like you are allowed only 1 hour exercising. So I said, fuck that, I'm going to Denmark. So 2020 summertime, I came to Denmark. And Denmark in Copenhagen was perfect. Everything was kind of people are not scared of what might happen. So that for me, Denmark was kind of example of common sense. But even they changed like year after. It was trying to implement fascism as well. So then I fucked off from Denmark and came back to Poland.
It's a good thing that you did.
Because what I wanted to do is just be in touch with people who have the same point of view, and not give up.
Not comply.
Not comply exactly.
Just not give in to the system, right? I mean, and just to add to that, what you said about networking, I think it is the most important, one of the most important things that we can do right now. Networking, it's more important than ever. Just to create communities, alternative communities, and to get acquainted with people that have the same point of view. Because when shit hits the fan, who are you going to rely on, right?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So right. Starting from the beginning in Poland, right? Yeah. I'm not afraid to admit that I fell for it at the beginning. I thought to myself, okay.
They're scared about this situation in Italy, right?
Yeah.
Kind of sound. So I mean, that was probably poisoning.
I mean, you know what it was? I actually know what it was. I read about it. I watched a couple of videos about it. It was apparently there was a flu vaccination campaign earlier, right?
Oh,
and they vaccinated 150,000 elders in Brescia and in Bergamo, and that was in the spring of 2019. And what you saw in April of 2020, and those were the effects of that vaccination.
Fall twice, right?
Yeah, so that's
nice.
I can't confirm that, but I've heard that from a couple of sources. So that there was a flu vaccine. They were testing new flu vaccine, and
so I rather not trust the government.
I mean, I'm skeptical of anything from big pharma at this point, right? So are you. But at the beginning, I think I'm not afraid to admit that I fell for it for the first month or two. I thought to myself, I mean, I was aware of the fact that there was that the government's warned.
Yes, because whatever you say against their propaganda, you've been accused of. Have you heard about Italy? People are dying.
Yeah.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
How selfish of you?
Yes, that's right. So they thought it through.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I mean, it was a perfect psyop. I mean, it's a they executed it very nicely. I mean, but just coming back to Poland though, because most people know that. But everybody saw what was going on in Italy, right? At least what the mainstream media told us was going on in Italy. And I thought to myself, okay, this might be a genuine threat. That would be a natural virus, and a natural pandemic. It's something unprecedented. But then I realized that, I started asking people, and as did you, hey, were you sick? Do you know anybody that died from this thing? And they were like, no. I know that somebody that tested positive, but they were asymptomatic. Right?
Yes, it was pretty funny because you don't know anybody who died from COVID. But people are actually pro-vaxxers. They have a system of saying, yes, but a friend of mine died in hospital.
Yeah.
But you never saw that friend, and none of your friends died. So always someone who is pro-vax. Yes, but my friend of mine died, or friend of my friend died.
Yeah, and we listen. It's like we don't it's always tragic when somebody dies, right? But we just have to consider the facts. How many people are dying because of this thing, right? Are the hospitals really overflowing with COVID patients? And the statistics are showing that this is nothing more than the seasonal flu. It's just as dangerous as the seasonal flu, right?
Yeah, sure. So we know that after a year and a half,
Yeah,
and all these people that actually get the shot just to travel,
yeah,
because the main point of travelers. We know a lot of travelers in Trójmiasto, in Gdańsk, in Gdynia,
yeah.
and most of them are vaxxed.
Yes. No, well, yeah,
Can I say vaxxed?
yeah. You could say vaxxed, you could say jabbed. I mean, it's even better if you say vaxxed because
Yeah.
it's going on YouTube and they won't take it down, right? So, well,
Yeah. We will be going beach route anyway. Fuck YouTube. Yeah. Fuck YouTube.
fuck YouTube. Fuck you. No, sorry, YouTube. Just let us be there for a moment. But
Yeah, just let us be there for a day. Thank you.
yeah. But anyway, with Poland, right? So the first 2 months were very extreme, right? People were taking this very seriously. I remember that I was frantically washing my hands and I wasn't leaving the home. And many people had the same approach. Nobody was on the streets. But then slowly, people started to realize that there was something wrong. Like I said, with the people not dropping dead on the streets. Everybody was expecting that to happen, but it didn't happen. Um, yeah, so that's when we started to call this out. We started to hear about the Great Reset, hear about Bill Gates and about the agenda, the agenda that is being
It's
put forward.
it's a funny thing because, as you say, you're absolutely right. I was following work of David Icke and Colbert Report
Yeah.
since probably like 3 years, just in time to be aware of what's happening when they created all this fear of Plandemic. So I wasn't that scared, but it was pretty um, pretty cool to just come back to Poland and see the growth of understanding between people. I'm not saying I'm the wisest guy or anything, but I had a chance to go through work of some people who actually are exposing the agenda. So the amount of people that know what's happening in the world now is it's amazing. I think it's maybe 40% or 50% know about agenda.
At this point, yeah, I'd say that at this point, at least, I would say 60% would be skeptical of it. That they're starting to think a little bit, and maybe that there's something wrong here. But I think that maybe 20 or 30% of the population are actually willing to do something about it.
Yeah, we had two vaxxers. We had two vaccinated people on our meeting in Gdańsk, right?
Yes, we did.
One girl, and the girl that actually wanted to know more because she wasn't really sure about this. What surprised me is logic of some people that trying to say, yes, I know it's bad, I know it might kill me, but I want to travel.
But I want to travel, yeah, and
Well, I have no.
it's like it's like with Valdik. I have the same perspective on it that we don't understand this mindset.
That'll be astral travel.
Yeah.
Obviously.
You're playing Russian roulette with your life with this
Yes,
shit,
yes,
and you risk your health, you risk being having adverse effects.
It's really surprising you have to argue with these people. I mean, you don't have to argue, but you just trying to show them. Well, maybe it's not worth it to.
It just goes to show you how mass formation psychosis works.
Yes,
Recently Dr. Malone talked about this. That that people just go along to get along. They
Yes.
just
So it's everywhere.
yeah.
Everywhere is the same. Doesn't matter if it's Poland or Australia or Canada or Denmark or England or
Yes.
Britain.
No matter where you go, everybody thinks the same. Like everybody.
It's the same propaganda everywhere.
Yeah, it's the same propaganda everywhere, and you have people everywhere that are susceptible to this propaganda. That they are influenced, unfortunately, very heavily by this propaganda. Right. So. At the beginning, going back to the beginning of what was going on in Poland, right? We had a very, very tough lockdown. I think 2 lockdowns. One from March until June, maybe, or something like that. And then we had a break during the summer where the restrictions, the lockdown was lifted, and we had a summer break. And then we went to another much harder lockdown. And
That's Poland that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
2021, right?
yes, that was 2020, late 2020, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that was September, and in September, that's when the protesting started in Poland in earnest. That's when when communities got people.
Yes, and
started-
I have a court case for lack of face mask.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty cool because I'm having a good lawyer. Thank you, Maya.
Yes. Hi, Maya.
If you are watching this,
Yes.
and if you understand the word as well. And yeah, 3 court cases now, and every court case, the first court case was cancelled because we came to the courtroom and the judge said, you are not supposed to be here because you have no face mask, so I have to cancel cancel the case. So all right. So half a year, 3 months or 6 months later on,
Yeah.
we have another case of the same case.
Yeah. Like, I've also been in trouble with the police. I mean, it's really hard to be kind of like active against the system and not be in trouble at one point with the police. But yeah, so. But anyway, yeah. Coming back to the protest. So in September, that's when it started. That's when people started getting together on social media and started to form like little groups of, let's say, rebellion, for lack of a better word, and
Compliance, yes, that's
yeah,
right.
non-compliance. And in September, we had the first wave of protests. I think. Wait. So there were 2 or 3 major protests during the summer of 2020. That was in
8 minutes.
we have 8 minutes left.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll make this very quick. So we had a protest in August and in September, and those protests were okay. A lot of people showed up in Warsaw. The first one was 20,000 people, and the second one was 30,000 people. And I attended both of those protests. And what I saw, it was. Those protests were were peaceful. There were no incidences there. But what I saw from the mainstream media was shocking because the Polish mainstream media was trying to provoke people, and it was just astounding to me. I don't know if I told you this, Valdemar, but I saw. So here in Poland, we have 3 mainstream media stations. One of the biggest ones is TVN, and this is like the Polish equivalent of CNN, you could say, and it's like
Or BBC propaganda.
or BBC propaganda, right? So, as you can imagine, none of the mainstream media report the protests. But the one time that they did show up, and this was back in August or September of 2020, the cameraman for TVN showed up, and the guy who was supposed to be holding the anchorman went into the crowd and started pushing people, shoving people, and what they were hoping for was to provoke somebody so that they could get into a fight, and the cameraman would record it, and of course that would go on national television. You know?
Yes, and there's another thing about setting fire to the vaccination point, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that comes a little
Yes,
bit later, though.
Yeah, I know. There's lots of false flags, and
Yeah,
people are more aware of that.
yeah,
And yeah, loads to say.
yes, we do. Yeah.
He probably knows much more than I do about events of.
Yeah, like the chronology of
Yes,
of the events.
yes.
Yeah, and so I mean, just to make a long story short, everything that you could imagine, they tried in Poland. Everything, just to divert our attention, to divide us, all false flags imaginable. And if we have time, maybe I can.
We can have another set. That's
Yeah.
half an hour set. So
Yeah.
we have another half an hour set. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
You wanna devote this remaining time to something else, or do you want?
No, I think it's alright.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yes.
Okay, right. So, just getting back to September of 2020, that's when our movement against the system was gaining momentum, and I remember that 50 or 60 cities in Poland started protesting simultaneously, and that was in October. I think that was October 10th. I still remember the date because I helped with the organization of the protest here in Gdańsk. and pepper spray was used on us, by the way. So yeah, it was kind of hardcore, and they canceled our what is it called, our protests, that it was no longer legal, and then we won the court case. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what happened right after the protest. So the government obviously saw that the people, the movement against the establishment was gaining momentum, and so what did they do? Abortion. They came
Oh
out with
yes,
abortion.
that's right. I was actually in Denmark at that time.
Yes.
Second time.
Uh-huh.
Yes, exactly. So I knew straight away it's a false flag. I mean, it's not a false flag, but it's a subject.
It's like a substitute subject.
Substitute
Yeah.
subject.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
So yes, it was happening everywhere. Even then, Polish community in Copenhagen, women with face masks on, with this kind of
with
arrow,
the lightning bolt.
lightning bolt as a sign of freedom. My body, my choice, right?
That's
by the
ironic.
way, what's happening now? What about my body, my choice now about these people, right? It looks like extreme lefties kind of forgot about my body, my choice, or they read my body, my choice in their way, which is absolutely not my body, my choice anymore.
When it comes to abortion,
Yes.
my
Yes.
body, my choice. When it comes to vaccination, no, you listen to your government, young man.
Yes, yes. So I was kind of stupid enough to take the microphone in the main Copenhagen area where it was like probably 300 Polish women saying abortion is okay. So I said to them to the microphone, listen guys, maybe you should think it's a subject of covering up what is really happening, and it seems like they've been prepared for that, and they say it's not a covering up of vaccination program. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It was just absurd, right? It was just
Yes.
ridiculous.
They've been fighting for freedom with a face mask on.
Yeah.
So that only is a sign of lack of understanding.
Yeah, it is. Like, so I think what happened is, so here's my take on the whole situation with the abortion. So, at the, if you remember, in the United States, during the summer of 2020, there were Black Lives Matter protests.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite similar. Yeah, that's right.
It is similar, you know, and that's it. That's the thing. There are so many similarities between all of the false flags and like substitute topics, cover-ups in the United States and in Poland, because whatever the United States does, whatever they do in the United States, they also try to do in Poland, right?
But it looks like they're running out of their programming.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So now it's a war, man. I mean, what left now?
Yeah, they tried everything.
Yes, that's right.
What's left is war.
Exactly.
War or inflation. Well, I mean, okay, they do have a couple of more things, yeah, but
Blackout or something, right?
yeah. So, but anyway, right, with the abortion, so they can't really divide us here in Poland in terms of race, right? We don't have, no, yeah, we don't.
Unless the Kashubian or something.
Yeah, okay, well, we should fight the Kashubian, I don't know. But,
Yeah,
but
that's right.
So,
that's right.
because our the society in Poland is too homogenous, you know, everybody is Catholic, everybody is white, like almost everybody, 95, 90.
It's just homogeneous enough, I would say.
Yeah.
Not too much, but it's just right. It's just right.
It's just right. Yeah, not too old, not too God. But anyway, yeah. So they came up with abortion was supposed to be like the next best thing, right? So they came out with this, and all of a sudden in October, every mainstream media started blurring about the abortion protests around and about the legislation that is going through the same, and we had. It's astounding to see how fast the women's strike protest, because that's what they were called, the women's strike protest, mobilized. They mobilized in 1 or 2 weeks, and all of a sudden everybody was out on the street, and it completely covered up.
There was a point. There
movements.
was a point when I didn't know which woman is actually pro freedom and which woman is pro abortion. Uh, we are on the beach at the moment, so just here, outside this pub, uh, there's a table of freedom, so called,
Right.
and there are lots of brave women. You won't believe how many brave women are actually in Polish society. Looks like the men kind of lost this testosterone, and all the women kind of go out and say, no, fuck off, we are not going to comply. And that was good. But for a minute, when I first saw that, for me it was like, oh shit, another abortion?
30 minutes.
Yes. Right. Yeah, I think we'll see you in the second set.
Yeah.
Right?
See you on the second set.